What happens when a single kiss in a stairwell destroys everything you thought you controlled? How did I end up staring at divorce papers, locked out and pregnant, with everyone believing my husband is the one to blame? The truth is, the real story began the night I received those legal documents on my car windshield. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Yanthi Durbin, and I'm 31 years old. I work as an office administrator at Bright Smile Dental Clinic, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had my life perfectly under control. I lived in a nice 2-bedroom apartment with my husband Graham and our 6-year-old daughter Mila. Graham worked steady hours at an accounting firm, bringing home decent money every month. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. The problem was, comfortable felt like dying slowly. Graham never noticed me anymore. That's what I told myself every morning, as I watched him drink his coffee in silence, scrolling through his phone like I wasn't even there. 34 years old and already acting like an old man. When was the last time he complimented my hair? When was the last time he looked up from his laptop when I walked into the room? I'm working late tonight, I announced one Tuesday morning in March, buttering Mila's toast while she packed her school bag. Graham grunted his acknowledgement without looking up. See? This is exactly what I meant. Did you hear me? I pressed. Yeah, working late. Got it. His voice was flat, disinterested. I felt that familiar surge of frustration. Dr. Martinez wants me to reorganize the entire patient filing system. It's going to take hours. Okay. Still not looking at me. Mila glanced between us with those big brown eyes that missed nothing. Mommy, can I stay at Grandma Lila's tonight? We'll see, sweetheart. I kissed the top of her head, inhaling her strawberry shampoo scent. At least someone in this family still appreciated affection. The dental clinic was busy that day, phones ringing constantly, patients complaining about wait times. By lunch, I was exhausted and craving something, anything to break the monotony. That's when Riley Tran walked through the door with our supply delivery. I'd seen him maybe a dozen times over the past year, always friendly, always smiling. He was 27, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and this way of looking at you like you were the most interesting person in the world. Complete opposite of Graham. Afternoon, Yanthi, he said, setting down boxes of dental supplies. How's your day treating you? Like a root canal without anesthesia, I replied, and he laughed. Actually laughed, like I was genuinely funny. That bad, huh? Maybe you need someone to rescue you from all this excitement. Was he flirting? The thought sent a little thrill through me. When was the last time anyone had flirted with me? If only, I said, signing for the delivery. Our fingers brushed when he handed me the clipboard, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Electricity. You know, Riley said, lowering his voice. I get off work at 6. There's this little coffee place on 5th Street if you ever want to grab a drink and complain about your day to someone who'll actually listen. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was dangerous territory. This was exactly the kind of thing that led to trouble. But God, when was the last time someone had actually asked about my day? When was the last time Graham had suggested we grab coffee together? I can't tonight, I heard myself saying. But maybe, sometime soon. His smile was dazzling. I'll hold you to that. After he left, I couldn't concentrate on anything. Dr. Martinez asked me 3 times to schedule Mrs. Patterson's follow-up appointment before I finally heard him. My mind kept replaying that moment when Riley's fingers touched mine, the way he'd looked at me like I mattered. I really did stay late that night, but not to reorganize files. I sat in the break room, staring at my phone, debating whether to text the number Riley had slipped me with the delivery receipt. Finally, around 7:30, I gave in. This is Yanthi from the dental clinic. Thanks for making my day a little brighter. His response came back within minutes. Just getting started. Hope I can do it again soon. I was still smiling when I got home at 8:15. Graham was on the couch, laptop open, barely glancing up when I walked in. "Mila's asleep," he said. "I ordered pizza. There's some left in the kitchen." "Thanks." I waited for him to ask about my day, about why I was so late, about anything. But he just kept typing. "The filing project is bigger than I thought," I said, testing him. "Might take a few more late nights." Click, click, click went his keyboard. I stood there for a full minute, waiting. Nothing. He didn't even look up when I went to check on Mila, didn't acknowledge me when I came back through the living room to get ready for bed. This was my life. This was what I'd signed up for when I married Graham Durbin. Invisible, unappreciated, taken for granted. Over the next 2 weeks, Riley and I exchanged dozens of texts. Nothing inappropriate, just friendly conversation that gradually became more personal. He asked about Mila, remembered details about my work stress, made me laugh with stories about difficult customers at the warehouse where he worked between delivery routes. Graham noticed nothing. He came home, ate dinner, worked on his laptop, went to bed. Same routine every single day. Sometimes I wondered if he'd even notice if I disappeared entirely. The second time Riley delivered to the clinic, he lingered at my desk after I signed the paperwork. "You seem happier today," he observed. "Good day." "Better now," I said, and immediately felt my cheeks flush. Was I really this obvious? "Listen," he said, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I know you're married, and I respect that, but if you ever need someone to talk to, someone who actually pays attention when you speak, I'm here." My throat felt tight. "Riley, no pressure, just, you deserve better than being ignored, Ianthe. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are." When was the last time Graham had called me amazing? When was the last time he'd called me anything other than my name? That night, Graham fell asleep on the couch again, laptop still open on his chest. I covered him with a blanket and went to bed alone, staring at the ceiling and thinking about Riley's words. "You deserve better." Did I? Was it wrong to want someone to notice me, to appreciate me, to make me feel alive again? The third delivery came on a Thursday. Riley handed me the clipboard with a small piece of paper folded underneath. "What's this?" I whispered. "My schedule for next week, just in case you ever want to accidentally run into me somewhere." I should have thrown it away. I should have told him this was getting too personal, too dangerous. Instead, I slipped it into my purse. Friday night, Graham announced he was playing poker with his work friends. He'd be out until midnight, maybe later. "Have fun," I said, not looking up from helping Mila with her homework. "Yeah." He grabbed his keys and wallet. "Don't wait up." After Mila went to bed, I found myself alone in our apartment, thinking about that piece of paper in my purse. Riley would be finishing his evening delivery route about now. According to his schedule, he'd be back at the warehouse by 9:30. I told myself I was just going for a drive. Just needed some air, some time away from these four walls that felt more like a prison every day. The warehouse was in an industrial area, about 20 minutes from our apartment. I parked across the street and sat there for 10 minutes, engine running, telling myself this was crazy. I was a married woman with a 6-year-old daughter. I had responsibilities. But when Riley emerged from the building and saw my car, when his face lit up with that incredible smile, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Wanted, desired, important. He jogged across the street and leaned down to my passenger window. "Well, this is a nice surprise." "I was just driving around," I said lamely. "Needed to clear my head." "Want some company? I know a place with great coffee. Or we could just drive and talk." I should have said no. I should have driven straight home and deleted his number from my phone. Instead, I unlocked the passenger door. We drove for an hour, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his family, his dreams of starting his own delivery business someday. I found myself opening up about feeling invisible, about wondering if this was all there was to life. "You're not invisible to me," he said quietly as I pulled back into the warehouse parking lot. "You're the highlight of my delivery route." We sat in the car for a moment, engine off, the silence heavy between us. I could feel him looking at me, could sense the electricity crackling in the small space. "Ianthe," he said softly. I turned to face him, and suddenly his hand was on my cheek, his thumb tracing my jawline. "You're so beautiful. How does your husband not see that?" "I don't know," I whispered, and it was true. I really didn't know anymore. "His loss," Riley murmured, and then he was leaning closer, and I was leaning toward him, and our lips met in the darkness of my car. It was just a kiss, soft, gentle, lasting maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like coming alive after years of sleepwalking. When we broke apart, my heart was racing so hard I was sure he could hear it. "I should go," I said, but I didn't move. "Yeah," he agreed, but he didn't move either. We kissed again, longer this time, and I felt something inside me that had been dormant for so long I'd forgotten it existed. Passion, desire, the feeling of being truly wanted by someone. When I finally drove home, Graham was still out. I went to bed alone, my lips still tingling, my mind replaying every moment of the evening. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. "Thank you for tonight. Sweet dreams. Beautiful." I was still smiling when I heard Graham's key in the lock at 12:45. He stumbled into the bedroom, smelling like beer and cigarettes, and collapsed into bed without even brushing his teeth. "How was poker?" I asked quietly. "Fine," he mumbled into his pillow. "Won $30. He was snoring within minutes, and I lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd started and whether I had the strength to stop it. The next morning, Graham was back to his usual routine. Coffee, phone, silence. He didn't ask about my evening, didn't notice that I'd done my hair differently, didn't comment on the new lipstick I was wearing. But when my phone buzzed with a good morning text from Riley, I felt that spark again. That reminder that somewhere in the world, someone thought I was worth noticing. Sunday dinner at my mother's house was a family tradition that Graham had learned to endure rather than enjoy. Mom, Leila Tran, had never quite forgiven Graham for being, in her words, boring and unromantic. She'd wanted me to marry someone exciting, someone who would sweep me off my feet and shower me with grand gestures. "Graham, honey, you look tired," Mom said as we settled around her dining room table. "Are you working too hard again?" "Just the usual," Graham replied, cutting his pot roast with mechanical precision. "Tax season's always busy. You know, when Ianthe's father was alive, he made sure to take me out dancing every Friday night, no matter how tired he was from work." Mum's voice carried that familiar tone of gentle criticism. "A marriage needs romance to survive." I felt my cheeks flush, both from embarrassment and a strange sense of validation. "See?" Even my mother noticed that Graham wasn't trying hard enough. "Dancing's not really my thing," Graham said mildly, not rising to the bait. "That's the problem," my sister Colette chimed in from across the table. At 29, she was still single and full of opinions about everyone else's relationships. "You have to make an effort, Graham. When was the last time you surprised Ianthe with anything?" Graham set down his fork and looked at me. "I brought you coffee in bed last Tuesday." "That's not a surprise," Colette laughed. "That's just basic husband maintenance." I should have defended him. I should have told them to back off, that Graham was a good provider and a steady father. Instead, I found myself nodding along. "It's not about the coffee," I said, my voice stronger than I'd intended. "It's about feeling like your wife matters to you, like she's more than just someone who lives in your house and takes care of your daughter." Graham's jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't respond. He never responded. That was part of the problem. He just took everything silently, like he was enduring it rather than fighting for us. "Exactly," Mum said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "A woman needs to feel cherished, appreciated." She needs to know her husband still sees her as the beautiful woman he married. Mila, who had been quietly pushing peas around her plate, looked up with confused eyes. Daddy thinks Mommy is beautiful. He told me so when we made her Mother's Day card. The table fell silent for a moment. Graham's father, Mark, who had been listening to this conversation with increasing discomfort, finally spoke up. Maybe we should talk about something else, he said firmly. This isn't appropriate dinner conversation, especially in front of Mila. It's fine, Dad, I said, feeling defensive. We're just having an honest conversation about marriage. Are we? Mark's voice was cool. Because it sounds more like a public shaming session to me. The tension around the table was thick enough to cut. Graham hadn't said a word in 5 minutes, just sat there taking it all like he always did. Why didn't he fight back? Why didn't he defend himself, defend us? My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced down automatically and felt my heart skip when I saw Riley's name on the screen. Hope you're having a better Sunday than I am. Thinking about you. The message sent a warm flutter through my chest, a reminder that somewhere in the world, someone was actually thinking about me on a Sunday afternoon. Who's texting? Colette asked, leaning over to peek at my phone. I quickly flipped it face down. Just work stuff. On Sunday? Graham asked, and there was something in his tone I hadn't heard before. Suspicion. Dr. Martinez is obsessive about the schedule, I said quickly. You know how he is. Graham studied my face for a long moment, then went back to his dinner without comment. But I caught Mark watching me with those sharp eyes of his, and I had the uncomfortable feeling that he'd noticed something. Well, I think it's wonderful that Ianthe has a boss who appreciates her, Mom said, completely missing the undercurrent of tension. At least someone recognizes her value. Mom, I said, suddenly feeling embarrassed by her obvious dig at Graham. What? I'm just saying, a woman needs to feel valued. If she's not getting that at home, she's going to find it somewhere else. That's just human nature. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Graham's knuckles were white around his fork, but he still didn't respond. Mark looked like he wanted to say something, but Mila was right there, absorbing every word with those big, worried eyes. Can I be excused? Mila asked quietly. I want to go watch TV. Of course, sweetheart, Mom said, immediately softening. There are cookies on the counter if you want one. After Mila left the room, the conversation continued, but the damage was done. I spent the rest of dinner fielding my family's subtle criticisms of Graham while he sat there like a statue, taking it all without a word of defense. On the drive home, the silence in our car was deafening. Mila had fallen asleep in her car seat, leaving Graham and me alone with the tension that had been building all evening. Your family really doesn't like me, Graham said finally, as we pulled into our apartment complex parking lot. That's not true, I said automatically. Isn't it? He turned off the engine and looked at me. Your mother's been taking shots at me for 6 years, and tonight you joined in. I didn't. You did. His voice was quiet but firm. You sat there and let them tear me apart, and then you agreed with them. I felt a surge of irritation. Maybe if you actually tried to defend yourself once in a while, they'd respect you more. Defend myself against what? Against being boring? Against working hard to support my family? Against not being the romantic fantasy your mother thinks you deserve? It's not about fantasy, I snapped. It's about effort. When was the last time you planned a date night? When was the last time you told me I looked pretty without me fishing for compliments? Graham stared at me for a long moment. I tell you that you look beautiful all the time. No, you don't. I told you yesterday morning that your dress looked nice. That's not the same thing. What do you want from me, Ianthe? His voice was tired, defeated. I work 50 hours a week to keep us comfortable. I help with Mila. I do my share of the housework. I don't drink or gamble or run around with other women. What more do you want? The question hung between us, and I realized I didn't have a good answer. Or rather, I had an answer I couldn't say out loud. I wanted to feel the way Riley made me feel. I wanted someone to look at me like I was fascinating, desirable, worth pursuing. I want to feel like you still love me, I said instead. Not like you're just going through the motions. Graham's expression softened slightly. Of course I love you. I married you, didn't I? That was 7 years ago, and nothing's changed. But that was exactly the problem. Nothing had changed. We'd settled into this comfortable, predictable routine where we were more like roommates than lovers. We shared a bed, shared responsibilities, shared a daughter, but we didn't share passion anymore. We didn't share excitement or spontaneity or any of the things that made me feel truly alive. My phone buzzed again with another text from Riley. This time, Graham noticed. Popular night for work emergencies, he said dryly. It's not an emergency. Dr. Martinez just wants me to come in early tomorrow to finish that filing project. Graham nodded, but something in his expression had shifted. He carried sleeping Mila up to the apartment while I gathered our things from the car, and when I came inside, he was standing in the living room, waiting for me. Ianthe, he said carefully, is everything okay? Between us, I mean. It was the first time in months that he'd asked me a direct question about our relationship, and I should have been happy about it. I should have seen it as an opening, a chance to have the honest conversation we'd been avoiding. Instead, I felt trapped. Because how could I explain that I was texting with another man? How could I tell him that a delivery driver made me feel more alive in 2 weeks than my own husband had in 2 years? Everything's fine, I lied. I'm just tired. Okay. He studied my face for another moment, then nodded. I'm going to check on Mila and then get ready for bed. After he left the room, I finally looked at Riley's second text. Can't stop thinking about Friday night. When can I see you again? I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. This was my chance to end it, to delete his number, and focus on fixing whatever was broken in my marriage. Instead, I typed back, Soon, I promise. His response was immediate. Can't wait. You're incredible, Ianthe. Incredible. When was the last time Graham had called me incredible? When was the last time he'd called me anything other than practical, reliable, efficient? I was still holding my phone when Graham came back into the living room. He glanced at me, then at the phone in my hands, and something flickered across his face. Long message from Dr. Martinez, he observed. Yeah, I said, quickly closing the text. He's really stressed about this filing system. Graham nodded slowly, but I caught him watching me as I got ready for bed, and I had the uncomfortable feeling that the careful balance we'd maintained for so long was starting to shift. I just wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a very dangerous thing. The following week, I found myself living 2 completely different lives. During the day, I was responsible Ianthe, office administrator, mother, wife who packed lunches and scheduled dentist appointments and made sure the bills got paid on time. But in the spaces between, in the stolen moments and secret text messages, I was someone else entirely, someone exciting and desired and worth pursuing. Riley and I had settled into a pattern of meeting after his evening delivery routes. Nothing too risky, just coffee at a diner across town, or sitting in my car in empty parking lots, talking about everything and nothing. We hadn't kissed again since that first night, but the tension was always there, crackling between us like electricity. You seem different lately, Dr. Martinez commented on Wednesday afternoon as I finished updating patient files. Happier, more energetic. I felt my cheeks warm. Just feeling good, I guess. Spring weather always improves my mood. Well, whatever it is, keep it up. The patients have been commenting on how friendly you've been. It was true. I had been friendlier, more patient with difficult customers, more willing to stay late or take on extra tasks. Everything felt easier when I had something to look forward to, someone who made me feel special. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Finishing up my last delivery, coffee in 20 minutes. I glanced around the office. Dr. Martinez was with a patient, and the last appointment of the day had just left. I could easily lock up and be out of here in 10 minutes. Sounds perfect, I typed back. 25 minutes later, I was sliding into a booth across from Riley at Murphy's Diner, a little place on the outskirts of town where I was unlikely to run into anyone I knew. "You look beautiful," he said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "I've been thinking about you all day." The contact sent a familiar thrill through me. "Riley, I know, you're married, but I can't help how I feel about you, Ianthe. You're amazing, and your husband is an idiot for not seeing it." "He's not an idiot," I said automatically, though the defense felt hollow. "He's just practical, focused on providing for us." "There's more to life than just providing," Riley said, his thumb tracing circles on my knuckles. "There's passion, excitement, romance. When was the last time he surprised you with anything?" I thought about it and realized I couldn't remember. Graham's idea of a surprise was picking up dinner on his way home from work, so I wouldn't have to cook. "That's what I thought," Riley said, reading my expression. "You deserve so much more than that." We talked for over an hour, and I found myself sharing things I'd never told anyone. My dreams of traveling, my frustration with feeling invisible, my fear that I was wasting the best years of my life in a marriage that had become more obligation than love. "You're not wasting anything," Riley said firmly. "You're incredible, Ianthe. Smart, funny, beautiful, caring. Any man would be lucky to have you." "Any man except my husband, apparently." "His loss?" Riley's hand tightened on mine. "And maybe, someday, someone else's gain." The implication hung between us, dangerous and thrilling. I should have pulled my hand away, should have reminded him that I was married, that this couldn't go anywhere. Instead, I found myself leaning closer across the table. "Riley, My phone rang, Graham's name flashing on the screen. Reality crashed back over me like cold water. "I have to take this," I said, pulling my hand free and stepping outside the diner. "Hey," I answered, trying to keep my voice casual. "Where are you?" Graham asked without preamble. "I'm home with Mila, and she's asking when you'll be back." I glanced at my watch and felt my stomach drop. It was nearly 7 o'clock. I'd told Graham I'd be home by 6:30. "I'm still at the office," I lied. "This filing project is taking longer than expected." "On a Wednesday night? It's almost 7, Ianthe." "I know, I'm sorry, I lost track of time. I'll be home in 30 minutes. There was a pause. "Okay, but Mila's hungry, so I'm going to order pizza." "That's fine, whatever's easiest." "Ianthe?" His voice was different somehow, careful. "Yeah?" "Is everything okay? You've been working a lot of late nights lately." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Everything's fine. Dr. Martinez is just really stressed about getting caught up before the summer vacation season starts." Another pause. "Okay, see you when you get home." I hung up and stood outside the diner for a moment, trying to calm my racing pulse. This was getting dangerous. I was taking too many risks, staying out too late, making too many excuses. When I went back inside, Riley took one look at my face and knew. "Husband checking up on you?" "I have to go," I said, grabbing my purse. "I'm already late." "Ianthe, wait." He caught my hand as I stood up. "I hate seeing you like this, scared, sneaking around, making excuses. You shouldn't have to live like that." "I'm not living like anything," I said, but we both knew it was a lie. "You are. You're living like a prisoner, and it's not fair. You deserve to be happy." His words followed me all the way home, echoing in my head as I walked into our apartment to find Graham and Mila sharing a pizza on the couch, watching some Disney movie. "Mummy!" Mila jumped up and ran to hug me. "Daddy got pizza with extra cheese, just how you like it." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." I hugged her tight, breathing in her familiar scent and trying to push away the guilt that was threatening to overwhelm me. "How was work?" Graham asked, not looking away from the TV. "Fine. Tiring. I think I'm going to take a shower and go to bed early." "Okay." He still didn't look at me. "There's pizza in the kitchen if you want some." I wasn't hungry, My stomach was too twisted up with guilt and confusion and the lingering excitement from my evening with Riley. Instead, I went to our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. Riley had sent another text. "I'm sorry if I made things complicated tonight. I just care about you so much. Sweet dreams. Beautiful." I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the delete button. This was my chance to end it, to focus on my marriage and my family, and stop this dangerous game I was playing. Instead, I typed back, "You didn't make anything complicated. It already was. Thank you for caring about me." His response came immediately. "Always. You mean more to me than you know." I was still staring at my phone when Graham appeared in the bedroom doorway. "Everything okay?" he asked. I quickly closed the text and set my phone aside. "Just tired." He nodded and started getting ready for bed, but I caught him watching me in the mirror as he brushed his teeth. When he came to bed, he lay on his side facing me instead of turning away like he usually did. "Ianthe," he said quietly, "can I ask you something?" My heart stopped. "Sure." "Are you happy? I mean, really happy? With us? With our life together?" It was such a simple question, but I found myself completely unable to answer it. Was I happy? I'd been happy a few hours ago, sitting across from Riley, feeling seen and appreciated and desired. But here, in this bed with my husband, I felt nothing. Comfortable, maybe. Safe, but not happy. "That's a complicated question," I said finally. "Is it?" His voice was soft, sad. "It shouldn't be." "I don't know, Graham. I honestly don't know." He was quiet for so long, I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then he said, "Maybe we should talk to someone, a counselor or something." The suggestion sent a spike of panic through me. A counselor would ask questions, would want to dig into our problems, would expect both of us to be honest about what was wrong. How could I be honest when I was texting with another man? "I don't think we need counseling," I said quickly. "We just need to try harder. Both of us." "Okay." He reached over and touched my hand. "I love you, Ianthe. I know I'm not always good at showing it, but I do." "I know," I whispered, and I did know. Graham loved me in his quiet, steady way. He just didn't make me feel alive the way Riley did. "Good night," he said, and rolled over to his side of the bed. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out what I was doing. I was playing with fire, and I knew it, but I couldn't seem to stop myself. For the first time in years, I felt truly alive, and I wasn't ready to give that up. Even if it meant lying to the man sleeping next to me. Even if it meant risking everything I'd built with Graham. Even if it meant becoming someone I'd never thought I could be. 2 weeks later, everything came crashing down on a Thursday night that started like any other. Graham had been acting strange for days, quieter than usual, watching me when he thought I wasn't looking, asking casual questions about my work schedule that felt anything but casual. I told myself he was just stressed about a big project at the accounting firm, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. I'd been more careful about my meetings with Riley, making sure to stick to reasonable time frames, checking my phone less obviously when Graham was around. But the pull was getting stronger. What had started as innocent coffee dates had evolved into longer conversations, more intimate confessions, and an emotional connection that was becoming harder to hide. That Thursday, Riley had texted me during lunch, "Can you meet me tonight? I have something important to tell you." The message sent both excitement and anxiety coursing through me. Important could mean anything. Maybe he was being transferred to a different route. Maybe he was quitting his job. Maybe he was going to tell me he was falling in love with me. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it made my heart race with anticipation. I texted back, "I can meet you at 8, same place as last time." "Perfect. Can't wait to see you." I spent the rest of the day distracted, going through the motions of work while my mind was completely elsewhere. Dr. Martinez had to repeat himself twice when giving me instructions, and I nearly scheduled a root canal patient for a simple cleaning. "You seem scattered today," he observed during the afternoon lull. "Everything okay at home?" "Everything's fine," I said automatically. "Just tired." But everything wasn't fine. I was living a double life, and the stress of maintaining both versions of myself was starting to show. When I got home at 5:30, Graham was already there, which was unusual. He typically didn't get home until after 6. "You're early," I said, hanging my purse on the hook by the door. "Slow day." He was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop closed in front of him, just sitting there like he'd been waiting for me. "Where's Mila?" "At your sister's. Colette picked her up from school for a sleepover." That was strange too. Colette rarely offered to take Mila on school nights, and she usually asked me first, not Graham. "Oh, that was nice of her." "Yeah." Graham's voice was flat, emotionless. "Gives us a chance to talk." Something in his tone made my stomach clench. "Talk about what?" "Sit down, Ianthe. I need to start dinner." "Sit down." The command in his voice was so unlike him that I found myself obeying automatically. I took the chair across from him, my hands folded in my lap like a child called to the principal's office. Graham studied my face for a long moment, and I had the uncomfortable feeling that he was looking for something specific. Finally, he opened his laptop and turned the screen toward me. "I want you to explain this." On the screen was a detailed report of our cell phone usage for the past month. My line was highlighted in yellow, showing dozens of text messages and phone calls to a number I recognized with sickening clarity. Riley's number. My mouth went dry. "Graham, I can—" 347 text messages, he said, his voice deadly calm. "In 3 weeks. To the same number, a number that belongs to Riley Tran, age 27, employed by Metro Delivery Services." The room seemed to tilt around me. How did I figure out that my wife was having an affair?" His voice was still calm, but there was something dangerous underneath it now. "It wasn't that hard, Ianthe. You've been sloppy." "I'm not having an affair," I said quickly. "We're just friends." "Friends." He clicked to another screen, this one showing a map with little red dots marking locations. "Is that what you call meeting him at Murphy's Diner every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 2 weeks? Is that what you call sitting in your car with him in the Metro Delivery parking lot until almost midnight last Friday?" My heart was hammering so hard I could barely breathe. "You've been tracking me?" "I've been protecting myself," he corrected, "and our daughter, because I had a feeling that my wife was lying to me, and I needed to know how deep it went. Graham, please let me explain." "Explain what? Explain how you've been sneaking around behind my back for weeks? Explain how you've been lying to my face every single day? Explain how you've been texting another man while sitting at dinner with our daughter?" Each accusation hit like a physical blow. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" For the first time, his voice rose above that deadly calm. "What is it, Ianthe? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my wife is cheating on me with a delivery driver who's 7 years younger than her." "We haven't done anything." The words exploded out of me. "We've just talked, that's all. Just talked and maybe kissed once, but that's it." The admission hung in the air between us like a bomb. Graham's face went completely white, then flushed red with anger. "You kissed him." "It was just once, and it didn't mean—" "You kissed him." His voice was flat again, but now I could see the fury burning in his eyes. "My wife, the mother of my daughter, kissed another man." "Graham, please." "Where?" "What? Where did you kiss him? In your car? In some motel room? In our apartment?" "It wasn't like that," I said desperately. "It was just a moment of weakness. I was feeling lonely and unappreciated, and he was kind to me. So this is my fault." Graham stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "My wife cheats on me, and it's my fault for not being kind enough." "That's not what I said. Isn't it?" He started pacing, his hands clenched into fists. "You felt lonely, so you decided to find comfort with another man. You felt unappreciated, so you went looking for appreciation somewhere else. Instead of talking to me, instead of trying to work on our marriage, you decided to sneak around and lie and cheat. I didn't cheat. I stood up too, my own anger rising. I kissed someone once. That's not cheating. What would you call it? I'd call it a mistake, a moment of weakness that didn't mean anything. 347 text messages didn't mean anything. Meeting him twice a week for 3 weeks didn't mean anything. Lying to me every single day didn't mean anything. I didn't have an answer for that. Because he was right. It had meant something. It had meant everything. I was unhappy, I said finally. I felt invisible in my own marriage. You never talk to me anymore. Never really see me. You come home, you eat dinner, you work on your laptop, you go to bed. That's not a marriage, Graham. That's just existing. So you decided to blow it up instead of trying to fix it. I didn't decide anything. It just happened. Bullshit. The profanity was so unlike him that I actually took a step back. Nothing just happens, Yanthi. You made choices. Every text message was a choice. Every secret meeting was a choice. Every lie you told me was a choice. He was right, and I hated him for it. I hated that he was being so rational, so logical, when I felt like I was drowning in emotions I couldn't control. What do you want me to say? I demanded. That I'm sorry? Fine, I'm sorry. That it won't happen again? It won't. That I'll never see him again? I won't. You're right, you won't. Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. He'd stopped pacing and was standing by the kitchen counter, perfectly still, perfectly calm again. What do you mean? I mean, I've already taken care of it. I called Metro Delivery this afternoon and spoke to Riley's supervisor, explained that one of their drivers was harassing my wife, making unwanted advances, stalking her at work and at home. My blood turned to ice. You didn't. I did, complete with documentation of all the text messages and phone calls. Riley Tran was fired this afternoon. Graham, no. He's also been served with a cease and desist order. If he contacts you again, if he comes anywhere near you or our family, he'll be arrested for harassment. I stared at him in horror. You destroyed his life. He tried to destroy mine. He didn't try to destroy anything. He cared about me. He was fucking around with a married woman, Graham said coldly. He knew exactly what he was doing. The cruelty in his voice was shocking. This wasn't the Graham I'd married, the quiet, gentle man who avoided conflict at all costs. This was someone else entirely. I can't believe you did that, I whispered. I can't believe you gave me a reason to. We stared at each other across the kitchen, and I realized that something fundamental had broken between us, not just bent or cracked, but completely shattered. What happens now? I asked. Graham closed his laptop and picked it up. Now you decide what's more important to you, this marriage and this family, or whatever fantasy you've been living with a 27-year-old delivery driver. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been talking to me when you started feeling unhappy instead of running to another man. Fair would have been working on our marriage instead of sabotaging it. Fair would have been thinking about our daughter before you decided to blow up her family. The mention of Mila hit me like a punch to the gut. Mila doesn't have to know about this. Mila already knows something's wrong. She's been asking me why Mommy and Daddy don't talk anymore, why you're always on your phone, why you're never home for dinner anymore. Guilt crashed over me in waves. I'd been so focused on my own unhappiness, my own needs, that I hadn't considered how my behavior was affecting our daughter. I never meant for any of this to happen, I said weakly. But it did happen, and now we have to deal with the consequences. Graham headed toward the bedroom, then stopped and turned back to me. For what it's worth, Yanthi, you're right about one thing. I did stop trying. I got comfortable, complacent. I took you for granted, and I'm sorry for that. But that doesn't excuse what you did, and it doesn't mean I'm going to let you destroy our family without a fight. He disappeared into the bedroom, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen, my world crumbling around me. My phone buzzed with a text message. For a wild moment, I thought it might be Riley, but it was from my sister Colette. Mila's asking when she can come home. Should I bring her back tonight or keep her until morning? I stared at the message, realizing that Graham had planned all of this. He'd arranged for Mila to be away so we could have this conversation without traumatizing her. Even in his anger, even in his betrayal, he was still thinking about our daughter's well-being. When was the last time I'd done the same?